There lived a beautiful young woman named Sophia. Her sparkling eyes, bright smile, and kind heart made her a beloved member of the community. Sophia's family, however, struggled to make ends meet. They lived in a tiny, weathered cottage on the outskirts of the village. Her parents worked tirelessly, but their meager earnings barely put food on the table. Despite their poverty, Sophia's spirit remained unbroken. She helped her mother with household chores, and her kindness and compassion earned her the village's admiration. One fateful day, Sophia's life took a dramatic turn. She fell critically ill and was rushed to the hospital. The diagnosis was dire, requiring immediate surgery. The hospital bill was staggering, far beyond Sophia's family's means. Her parents, despite their poverty, scoured every corner for funds. Sophia's mother pleaded with the hospital administrators, "Please, our daughter's life is at stake. We'll do anything." The hospital's response was unyielding: "We require £10,000 for the surgery. If you can't pay, we can't proceed." Sophia's father, desperate, approached the villagers. Though they loved Sophia, the requested amount was daunting. "I'll do anything," Sophia's father begged, "but I need your help." The villagers sympathized, offering what little they could, but it was a drop in the ocean. As the hours ticked by, Sophia's condition worsened. Her parents' hope began to dwindle. Sophia's parents sat in the hospital's waiting area, desperation etched on their faces. They weighed their options, discussing the impossible. "We could sell our house," Sophia's father suggested, "but where will we live?" Her mother shook her head. "We can't lose our home. We have nothing else." Suddenly, Sophia's mother's eyes sparkled with an idea. "There's one person who might help, Mr. Jackson, the wealthy lender." Sophia's father frowned. "He's notorious for his cruel terms." "What would we offer in return?" Sophia's mother hesitated. "I don't know, but we have no other choice." Sophia's father's expression darkened. "You know what he'll ask for, our daughter, or worse, you." "I won't risk it," Sophia's mother pleaded, tears welling up. "What choice do we have? If we lose Sophia, I'll never forgive myself." The argument escalated until Sophia's mother broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Sophia's father wrapped his arms around her, comforting her. "We'll find another way. We must." As they hugged, a nurse approached. "Sophia's condition worsens by the hour. Please, find the funds." Sophia's parents exchanged desperate glances. Sophia's father sat alone in his dimly lit sitting room, weighed down by the burden of his daughter's illness. His mind raced with thoughts of Mr. Jackson, the wealthy lender. "Should I risk it?" he pondered. "What if he demands something unbearable?" But the memory of Sophia's frail smile and his wife's desperate tears made up his mind. He rose from his chair, determination etched on his face. "Sophia's mother," he called out. She rushed in, hope in her eyes. "We have no choice," Sophia's father said, his voice resolute. "We'll visit Mr. Jackson tomorrow." Sophia's mother nodded, relief washing over her. The next morning, they set out for Mr. Jackson's grand estate. Anxiety gripped Sophia's father as they sat in his living room. "What will he ask for?" he whispered. Sophia's mother clutched his hand. "We'll face it together." The door swung open, revealing Mr. Jackson's imposing figure. "Welcome," he said, his voice dripping with authority. "I've heard about Sophia's illness. How can I assist?" Sophia's father took a deep breath. "We need £10,000 for her surgery." "We'll do anything." Mr. Jackson's eyes narrowed. "Anything." Sophia's father hesitated before nodding. Mr. Jackson smiled, his eyes glinting. "Very well. I'll provide the funds, but at a price." Sophia's parents exchanged nervous glances. "What do you require?" Sophia's father asked. Mr. Jackson leaned forward, his voice low. "Meet me tonight. And we'll discuss terms." Sophia's parents left Mr. Jackson's estate, their minds racing with worries. What could he want in return? Sophia's mother asked, her voice laced with anxiety. Maybe our house? Sophia's father replied, his brow furrowed. The next day, Sophia's father returned to Mr. Jackson's estate, determined to learn the truth. Mr. Jackson greeted him with a calculating smile. The terms are simple, Mr. Jackson said, his voice dripping with malice. Once Sophia recovers, she'll become my wife. The £10,000 is her bride price. Sophia's father felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. You can't be serious, he erupted, fury coursing through his veins. She's just a young woman, Mr. Jackson shrugged. Age is just a number. She'll make a fine wife. Sophia's father seethed, disgust and outrage boiling within him. How could you? He spat. You're old enough to be her grandfather. Mr. Jackson's expression turned cold. I'm offering you a solution. Take it or leave it. Sophia's father stormed out, his heart heavy with despair. How could I sacrifice my beloved daughter to this monstrous man? He whispered. Sophia's father stormed into the hospital, his face etched with anger and despair. He found his wife sitting beside Sophia's bed, her eyes red from crying. What did Mr. Jensen say? She asked, concern etched on her face. Sophia's father took a deep breath, his voice trembling. He wants Sophia as his wife in exchange for the money. His wife's eyes widened in horror. No, she screamed, collapsing into tears. God, why must we suffer so? Sophia's father wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. We won't do it, he vowed. I'll sell myself first. I'll do anything, but I won't give our daughter to that monster. His wife wept uncontrollably, her body shaking. What have we done to deserve this? She sobbed. Sophia's father held her tight, his heart heavy with determination. We'll find another way, he promised. We'll beg, borrow, or steal. But Sophia will never be sold to that old man. As they hugged, Sophia stirred in her bed, her weak voice calling out, Mom, Dad. They rushed to her side, tears streaming down their faces. My baby, Sophia's mother whispered. We'll get through this. We won't let anyone harm you. Sophia's father's resolve hardened. We'll fight for our daughter's life, and her dignity. Sophia's parents made the difficult decision to sell their beloved home, hoping to raise enough money for Sophia's surgery. Days turned into weeks as they struggled to find a buyer. Each potential buyer offered a measly sum, far below the house's value. £5,000, one buyer suggested. That's the highest I can go. Sophia's father's face fell. But the house is even more than £10,000. But you can pay me that. I'm in need of the money, please. The buyer shrugged. Sorry, it's the best I can do. Sophia's mother broke down, tears streaming down her face. Why, God, she sobbed. Why must we suffer so? Can't you see we're desperate? Sophia's father tried to comfort her, but his own frustration boiled over. It's like they're taking advantage of our misery, he growled. They know we're desperate, so they lowball us. As the days passed, the offers remained pitifully low. Sophia's parents grew more desperate. How can this be? Sophia's mother wailed. We've worked hard, been good people. Why must we suffer like this? Their once strong faith began to waver. One evening, as they sat amidst the chaos of packing, Sophia's father's voice trembled as he spoke to his wife. I think we should consider Mr. Jackson's offer, he said, his words laced with desperation. Sophia's mother's eyes widened in horror. You can't be serious, she cried. Our daughter, married to that old man. Sophia's father's face twisted in anguish. I know. But what choice do we have? We can't afford the surgery. If we don't accept his offer, Sophia will die. Sophia's mother collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Oh God, why must we suffer so? She wailed. Sophia's father knelt beside her, tears streaming down his face. I know it's unbearable, but think of Sophia's life. We'll do anything to save her. After what seemed like an eternity, Sophia's mother slowly rose. We have no other option, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Together, they made their way to Mr. Jackson's estate, their hearts heavy with resignation. As they entered, Mr. Jackson's eyes gleamed with triumph. "Ah, I knew you'd see reason," he said, his voice dripping with malice. Sophia's father's eyes locked onto Mr. Jackson's. "We accept your offer," he spat, his voice laced with venom. "But know this, you're buying our daughter's life, not her soul." Mr. Jackson chuckled. "I'll take what I want," he sneered. The agreement was sealed, Sophia's fate hanging in the balance, but little did they know that life has other plans. Mr. Jackson handed over the £10,000, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Sophia's parents took the money, their faces etched with mixed emotions. As they left Mr. Jackson's estate, Sophia's father's anger boiled over. "We've sold our daughter's soul," he growled. Sophia's mother's eyes welled up with tears. "For her life," she whispered. At the hospital, they paid the bill, and Sophia was prepped for surgery. The hours ticked by, agonizingly slow. Finally, the surgeon emerged, smiling. The operation was successful, he announced. Sophia's parents collapsed into each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. "Thank God," Sophia's mother sobbed, but amidst their relief, a nagging pain lingered. "We've promised our daughter to that monster," Sophia's father whispered. Sophia's mother's eyes filled with tears. "We had no choice," she whispered back. As they sat beside Sophia's hospital bed, holding her hands, the weight of their decision crushed them. Their daughter's life was saved, but at what cost? Days passed, and Sophia recovered. The hospital stay ended, and they returned home. Sophia, still weak, smiled at her parents. "I'm grateful," she whispered, but her parents' smiles hid their inner turmoil. How could they hand their daughter over to Mr. Jackson? Would they find a way to escape this nightmare? Months passed, and Sophia recovered fully. Her smile brightened her parents' lives, but the weight of their secret lingered. "Thank you, Mom and Dad," Sophia said, hugging them tightly. "I owe you my life." Her parents' eyes welled up with tears, their hearts heavy with guilt. "We'd do anything for you, sweetie," Sophia's mother whispered, but deep inside, they regretted their decision. "We saved her life, but at what cost?" Sophia's father thought. Their joy was tainted by the knowledge of Mr. Jackson's looming presence. One day, Sophia noticed her parents' somber mood. "What's wrong?" she asked. Her parents exchanged nervous glances. "Nothing, dear," Sophia's mother replied. "Just tired." But Sophia sensed something was amiss. "What is it?" she pressed. Her parents' silence spoke volumes. Little did Sophia know, her fate was sealed. Mr. Jackson's patience wore thin. "It's time to collect my debt," he thought. A knock on the door broke the evening silence. Sophia's father answered, his face falling as he saw Mr. Jackson's emissary. "Mr. Jackson sends his regards," the man said, handing over a letter. "He demands collection of his debt." Sophia's father's eyes widened as he read the letter. "It's time," the emissary said, turning to leave. Sophia's father crumpled the letter, his anger boiling over. That night, Sophia's parents woke her up, their faces etched with worry. "Sophia, we need to tell you something," her mother began. "The money for your surgery, it came from Mr. Jackson," her father explained. Sophia's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" she asked. Her parents took a deep breath. "We promised him you would marry him," her mother whispered. Sophia's face contorted in horror. "No. You can't make me," she screamed, her parents' eyes filled with tears. "We had no choice," her father pleaded. "We couldn't let you die." Sophia's anger turned to despair. "Poverty is a disease," she cried. "You should have let me die rather than sell me to that old man." Her parents hugged her tight. "We couldn't lose you," her mother whispered. Sophia's tears fell like rain. "I won't do it," she vowed. "I won't marry him." But her parents' faces told a different story. They had made a promise, and they would keep it. Sophia sat alone in her room, tears streaming down her face. "How could they?" she sobbed. "They should have let me die rather than sell me to that monster," She thought of Mr. Jackson's leering face, his wrinkled hands. He's old enough to be my grandfather. She shuddered. Sophia's anger turned to her parents. Why did they do this to me? She cried. They know how wicked Mr. Jackson is. But as she reflected on their desperate situation, Sophia's anger faded. They did it to save my life, she whispered. Her parents' words echoed in her mind. We had no choice. We couldn't let you die. Sophia's resolve crumbled. I have no other choice, she resigned herself, with a heavy heart. Sophia accepted her fate. She would marry Mr. Jackson, but a spark within her refused to die. God, please do not allow that old man to touch me after we got married, Sarah whispered. The next day, Sophia's parents saw a changed daughter. I understand, Sophia said, her voice flat. Her parents' relief was palpable. We'll get through this together, her mother promised. But Sophia's eyes told a different story. But little did the poor family knows that life has other plans for them. Sophia's father nervously approached Mr. Jackson's estate, his heart heavy with the weight of their bargain. He was greeted by Mr. Jackson's warm smile. Ah, my dear friend, Mr. Jackson said, his eyes gleaming. I trust your daughter is ready? Sophia's father nodded, forcing a smile. Yes, sir. We're ready. Mr. Jackson's grin broadened. Excellent. I'll do things properly, as is fitting. I'll pay the bride price, and we'll celebrate in style. I'll bring money for preparations, so everyone knows my intentions are pure. Sophia's father's unease deepened, but he hid it well. Thank you, sir. As he left, Mr. Jackson's smile faltered, revealing a glimpse of his true intentions. But only for a moment. Back home, Sophia's father relayed the news to his wife. Mr. Jackson wants to do things big, he said, his voice laced with unease. He's bringing money for preparations, so everyone knows Sophia is his. Sophia's mother's eyes widened. What does it mean? Sophia's father shrugged. I don't know, but we have no choice. Unbeknownst to them, Mr. Jackson's mind whirled with secrets, hidden behind his charming facade. The day of the occasion arrived, and Mr. Jackson's generosity was evident. The venue was lavishly decorated, and the guests were treated to a sumptuous feast. As tradition dictated, Sophia, adorned in beautiful attire, carried a calabash of palm wine to present to her supposed husband. Her father handed her the wine, and with her entourage, she made her way to Mr. Jackson. Kneeling before him, Sophia offered the wine, her eyes cast down. But instead of accepting the wine, Mr. Jackson lifted her up, his eyes twinkling. Today, I have a surprise, he announced, his voice booming. The crowd quieted, intrigued. Mr. Jackson continued, I know I'm old, and my time on this earth is short. I couldn't bear the thought of wasting Sophia's youth and beauty on me. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Instead, I present to you my son, freshly returned from America. A handsome young man stepped forward, smiling. Sophia, meet your true husband, Mr. Jackson declared. Sophia's eyes widened as the young man took her hand. The crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Sophia's face lit up with joy. Mr. Jackson handed the wine to his son, who accepted it with a grin. May our union be blessed, the young man said, his eyes locked on Sophia. As they embraced, Sophia's heart soared. Was this fate's intervention? The crowd buzzed with excitement. Is this Mr. Jackson's redemption? Someone whispered. Or a clever trick, another guest wondered. Sophia was overjoyed, she had found love. After the traditional marriage ceremony, Sophia's parents were overjoyed. We're blessed. Sophia's mother exclaimed, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. God is faithful, Sophia's father added, beaming with pride. Mr. Jackson's change of heart is a miracle. Their faces radiated happiness, knowing their family's fortune had shifted. We've partaken in the blood of riches, Sophia's father declared. Our image will never be poor again. Their praise and thanksgiving filled the air, as they celebrated late into the night. Meanwhile, Sophia and her new husband, Jackson Jr., basked in marital bliss. Their love grew stronger with each passing day. I'm so grateful for you. Sophia whispered to Jackson Jr., "You're my everything," he replied, holding her close. 2 days after their wedding, they embarked on a romantic honeymoon abroad. As they soared through the skies, Sophia gazed out the window, her heart full. "Thank you, God," she whispered, tears of joy welling up. In their luxurious hotel suite, Jackson Jr. swept Sophia off her feet. "I promise to love and cherish you forever," he vowed. Sophia's smile lit up the room. "I love you too," she replied. Their honeymoon was a dream come true, laughter, adventure, and endless love. Back home, Sophia's parents continued to bask in their newfound joy. "Sophia brought good luck to our family," Sophia's father declared. "God's blessings are abundant," Sophia's mother added. Their happiness was contagious, spreading to their entire community. Sophia's story became a testament to faith and redemption.